everyone. My name is Christian. Now we have a very special session that, of course, most of you that are learning or working in this field might be wondering, wait, what about stress or strategies about handling stress? Well, we believe that the next session will be very crucial for you, mostly to set up a good set of goals, try to think what is important for you. And we know you are in the middle of many meetings and everything, but we hope that the next session by Dr. Drew, it will be very useful for your career and for your well-being. Enjoy the session.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to my online session from Stress to Strategy, Rediscovering Your Values with Coach Dr. Drew B. Mallory. That is me. I am glad to have you here today. I'm glad to have you online with me, and I will be glad to interact with you more if you're sticking around for live Q&A. You may have joined me in the past. Our previous session, we talked about a framework called poisons, passions, and possibilities. And we looked at how to audit your career to find out what drains you, poisons, what fuels you, those passions, and how you can develop those in future possibilities. For those of you that drove that to action, I would love to hear some updates. And for those of you that are just starting out, stick around, we'll have a lot to discuss. But before we begin, I want to take some time to just introduce you to myself, let you know why it is that we are actually going to speaking today, what you're going to be doing with me. I am a professional organizational psychologist, PhD psychologist. That means I work with people in organizations to help to make their lives better. I'm also a social worker. I am also an evidence-based interventionist, coach, as well, mentor, and many other things in and out of the classroom, in and out of organizations. And I do a lot of activities to help organizations, to help people, and to help countries even to tap into what it is that drives them, what it is that makes them excited, and what it is they can do to improve their lives now. You can learn more about me and my method at coachwithdrew.today, my website, where you can find out details, not just about me, but about coaching, to find out after this session today if it's going to be the sort of exercise and service that's going to be right for you. But let me make a few clarifications. I am a psychologist. That does not mean we're going to be talking about clinical psychology today. But if you're a bit worried that we're going to go into all the weeds about clinical depression or anxiety or PTSD, that's not the purpose today. If you do have one of those conditions, and I urge you, if you do, or if you think that you do, go Google it. Go find a counselor or a psychologist in your area. If you have a lot of those symptoms, especially burnout, which is going to relate to stress that we'll talk about today, go find someone who can actually help you directly. Now, the difference between what I do and what a clinical psychologist can do is that a clinical psychologist will use a medical model to diagnose you, find out what's going on, dive into your history, and try to discover how to rebuild some of that history in a way that's going to give you the most stable platform to accomplish your goals. I am not really dealing with the past. We're not using a medical model to diagnose you. Instead, what I'm going to do is help you to explore your environment, help you to explore goals, and help you to organize those for the future. So it's a very present, moment-driven field, and it's a very future-focused exercise whenever we get together. So enough about coaching for the moment. I want to talk to you today about the concept of fuel. What is fueling you, and how you can apply that to a very imminent challenge that is coming up for all of us. That is the holiday season. And no matter what country you're from or culture it is that you're celebrating, when we enter into this time of year, it's going to bring about what I call the holiday paradox. We are told in my country, in the United States, this is the most wonderful time of the year. You might hear the song playing in your head. But for a lot of us, especially in the high pressure world of tech, and for those of us who are women or in the LGBTQ plus community, balancing what sociologists call the second shift of domestic life is statistically going to be actually the most stressful part of what you're actually doing. Now, I am a professor of management and organizational behavior at Sassoon School of Management in Bangkok. But through my practice as coach with Drew.today, I do work as an executive. And my work sits right at the intersection of professional performance, human well-being, and inclusion. let me tell you a bit about what the data says about where we are right now in 2020. We are seeing a record level of what's called allostatic load. That is the wear and tear on the body that accumulates from chronic stress. You probably can feel that right now in your neck or in your back, or your cortisol is feeling like you can't calm down. You've already navigated a volatile tech market. You've probably been adapting to the rapid evolution of AI. Many of you also going to be managing the invisible labor market of keeping teams connected, that unpaid work of emotional labor. And now come the holiday. If you're feeling overwhelmed, I want you to know you are not doing it wrong. You are responding physiologically to an extremely high demand environment, a lot of unpaid work, and a lot of closed doors, right? Opportunities to discuss, to look inward, to speak outward are not there. We are going to try to fix that strategy today for navigating it by using a tool that I use with my executive client to move you from reacting to the chaos in your life to acting from your core. Specifically, we are going to talk about rediscovering your values. Now, before we pick up the pen, because I have prepared an exercise for you to download, go ahead and get that if you're moving along with me now. But I want to address a dangerous myth. This is a myth I was just speaking about with a dear friend of mine in New York. And we had several conversations about where did the idea that self-care is a luxury come from. In the tech industry, we're obsessed with optimization, optimize code, pipelines. But when it comes to ourselves, perhaps the best product that we have, we often view maintenance as downtime, right? It's an indulgence. There's a famous quote by the Black feminist writer and activist Audre Lorde, which has been memified and stripped of its radical power, but I think it's actually very interesting. She said, caring for myself is not self-indulgence, it's self-preservation. And that is an act of political warfare. Do you feel like that when you take a moment to just spend time with yourself, to think, take the earphones out, walk down the street in silence, to breathe? Does it feel practical to you? I think it is. But Lorde is not talking about bubble baths necessarily. She actually wrote that in 1988 while battling cancer as a Black lesbian woman in a world that was not built for her survival. She was saying that for marginalized communities, and I include many of us here today in that group, staying healthy and staying whole is an act of resistance. You actually have to fight against the mainstream in order to do that. Now, in 2024, data showed us that women still experience a significant leisure gap, having about 19% less free time than men. And that's largely due to unpaid caregiving and household management. For my LGBTQ plus friends tuning in, the holidays often bring about additional weight minority stress, that effort of navigating family rejection or filtering your authentic self. This applies, I think, to a lot of people. So when we talk about values today, we're not going to be fluffy. We are actually doing this to build psychological armor. Science tells us that value affirmation, the act of reminding yourself of who you are and what you stand for, can actually drop those cortisol levels that are responsible for driving stress and driving fat levels. Will drop those in your blood. It actually activates reward centers in the brain. Not a luxury, but it feels, and it can buffer you against the anxiety of stereotypes. Right? So this exercise we're going to do today is quite literally self-preservation, as Lorde said. Now, let's back up for a minute. Okay, become my students. What is a value? In my coaching practice, I often see high performers confuse values with goals. So let's distinguish these first. A goal is a destination. Let's finish the project. Let's buy all the gifts. Right? Host the perfect family dinner. Goals can be checked off, but they also create binary pressure. You either succeed or you fail. And a value is a direction. It is a quality of action. Values can be things like compassion, creativity, authenticity, honesty. They can never be finished. You're never going to be done being creative. And this matters a lot for holiday stress, because if your goal is to have a perfect holiday get-together or celebrate the new year in a way that brings everyone happiness, and no stress. You're going to be stressed out if, in my country, the turkey burns, or if an uncle or auntie makes a comment, or your partner doesn't exactly dress the part. Your goal has failed. But if your value is connection, and you burn the Christmas, or you forget to bring oranges where they get together, you can still achieve connection. You can order a pizza. You can sit on the floor. You can grab a mango, and you can laugh. The goal failed, but the value is going to have been met. So when we're overwhelmed, we tend to obsess over these goals, and we lose touch of our values, often completely. Maybe you've had that moment where you look back and you say, how did this happen? Who was I in that moment? That's actually where the suffering comes. And we are going to flip that switch to make sure that we stop the obsession and we reconnect with ourselves. So I will take you through an exercise that I've developed for you specifically. You can download it from the website called Unlocking Your Potential, Rediscovering Your Values. And it's going to take you through a 5-step guide. I am going to just guide you through this. Don't overthink it. You can download the exercise if you want to go through it as a worksheet. I've actually given you a lot of details, example questions, so you really might be better to just grab yourself a fresh sheet of paper. I'll show you the exercise on the screen, and I'll guide you through with my voice and give you some time to answer these questions for yourself. Don't overthink it. I want you to trust your gut, and you might feel like you've forgotten how to do it, but I promise you, at the end, you're going to reconnect with something that you had forgotten you had lost touch with. So let's begin. I want you to start out by just closing your eyes for a moment. Scan back through the last year. Find a moment of professional or personal endeavors where you felt pure joy. Not just fun, but a sense of flow, a sense of aliveness. Who were you with? What were you doing? Maybe you were solving a complex. Were you hiking in nature or with a pet? Maybe you were mentoring someone, a junior developer. Now, all of these questions are written for you along with some background and details in the exercise. I'll bring it back up when I need to show you, but for now, just focus on that first question and write down just a few words that are going to help you to remember what was going on. And we'll come back to it in just a moment. So when did you last feel joy? And what were you doing? Who were you with? Okay. Now, if you need more time, pause it if it's a recording. I want us to shift gears. We're going to talk about pride for a moment. Think of a time over the last year when you truly felt deeply proud. Now, pride is different from joy. Pride often involves accomplishing, overcoming a struggle. Maybe you set a hard boundary. Maybe you advocated for yourself. Maybe you shipped a product under a tight deadline. I want you to think of you, not just proud of someone, proud of yourself. What did you do that made you so? There's probably a hidden principle in there somewhere. What principle were you on? I am so glad that I did this thing that I believe in. Take a moment to write down just a few keywords. Finally, we're going to talk about fulfillment. Okay, now this is a bit deep, but think for a minute. When did you last feel like your life or your work had meaning? When did you feel like yourself the most? Oftentimes, fulfillment or meaning comes from when we serve others or when we are living authentically. You might show up as your full self at work. You might stand up for something that you believe in, dress or act in a way that just feels like you. or the you that you used to be in a space that feels difficult. Capture a few moments of that memory on the page. Now you should have just a few keywords written down. Our step 4 is we're going to try to pinpoint some top values. You're looking for a pattern. Did your joy come from creativity? Did pride come from integrity or autonomy? Is it possible that your fulfillment came from community or inclusion in some way? I've given you some sample core values on the document that you can download. I want you to try to see if you can identify some of the words that you've written down and how they might match onto that. And look at the list of values there and circle or write down maybe the top 5 or so that seem to be captured in the reflections that we've just gone through. So we're looking for core values. Very common ones would be things like autonomy, belonging, excellence, fairness, learning, security, tradition, but they're going to be different for you. And don't choose the ones that sound right. Don't pick the ones that your parents want you to have. Right? Pick the ones that resonate with you today, or this season, in this moment, and based on those critical experiences that you mentioned that you. You want to do this right, pause the video now and really scan through those values on the list. Find the ones that mention things that resonate with you. And I even encourage you to scratch off the ones that don't sound good. Like really winnow it down into the top 5. When you're ready, let's continue. If you have already your top 5 values, we are going to explore what you can do with those, because those are key, essential ingredients that you can use to truly transform your life by transforming every single decision that you make in every moment of your day, and especially at this time of year. So we're going to move from a reflection into action. Values are useless if they just stay on the page. We actually need to operationalize. We need to turn those into a plan of action. Those are ingredients. We need the recipe. We need to, right? So I want you to draft a single sentence, a couple sentences strung together, perhaps, that can be bound together with some of those values, 2 or 3 of the top values you're going to use to encompass your values over the holiday. Think about it for just a moment. What might one sentence be that you can start out with that's going to describe how it is that you're going to with life? So for example, some of the top values for me include integrity, inclusion, and clarity. Clarity might also be directness, which can get me in a bit of a trouble here in Thailand from time to time, but which can be very, very useful in certain situations. So one sentence for me might be something like, I strive to act with integrity by setting clear boundaries while still ensuring that those around me, in any context, will feel included and seen. Okay, so that's one sentence that's going to work for me. If your values were rest, family, and fun, you'd have a very different statement. You might say something like, I prioritize rest and fun with my family over the pressure to be productive or perfect. That's a value statement I would like to get behind, but a little too far for me today. I want you to just try to get yourself ready with a single sentence first. And then we're going to apply this into a larger value statement in just a moment. When you've had a chance to come up with a single sentence, if you have time, I want you to see if you can look at the example that I've given on the worksheet to create an entire statement that's going to be meaningful for you. Now, you can look at value statements of corporations, but also of key leaders from around the world. Mahatma Gandhi is one of those that has been highly influential for me. I've given you a full value statement that incorporates the top values, all 5 of them, in a way that I think represents how I choose to live my life. And let me read it for you first so that you can understand why I'm asking you to do it. Whether you've done a single sentence or a longer exercise, if you're a creative writer, you'll like to take the time to do this. This can be transformative for you. My students tend to like this a lot, as do my clients. Mine says, as a psychologist, coach, and someone who designs systems for real human change, I strive to live and to work in ways that reflect integrity, where my actions match my principles, even under pressure. I build processes and relationships that center inclusion, ensuring that people from all backgrounds feel seen, respected, and empowered to contribute. I communicate with clarity because transparency fosters trust, and trust enables growth. I believe that no matter where you are. I protect autonomy, both mine and others, by creating structures that support choice, flexibility, and self-direction. And I pursue impact through the work that I do that is rigorous, intentional, and aligned with what matters most, not just to me, but to the communities I serve. That means saying no when a yes would dilute purpose. It means designing tools that are not just efficient, but ethical. It means coaching with both precision and compassion, and it means showing up consistently as someone whose values are not just named, but practiced. Okay, so this is my example, and I want you to take some time, if you're willing to, offline, to create a value statement that goes beyond a sentence to a paragraph like this that blends together those top 5 values in a way that's going to make the most sense for you when you have them all. If you've done it already, look at what you've written. You've taken a vague cloud of holiday stress, and you have actually been able to develop this into a clear compass, whether you recognize it or not. This is meant to be your guide, and I've given you a little bit of instructions here for step 6 on the worksheet. You're going to need to transform this statement into actionable steps that you can use to ensure that over the next several weeks, you're able to make micro shifts that can lead you into change. Moment to moment, you're choosing what you're going to do. I want you to ask yourself, is the decision that I'm going to be making now going to align with the value statement paragraph you've made? Or if the answer is no, you have permission from me, but also backed by psychology and self-preservation in general, to just say no. Remember, this is about closing that self-care gap. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot code, cannot lead, or love efficiently if you are running on fumes. You've got to prioritize your own values, and that's not selfish. It's actually quite professionally and personally strategic. So this exercise is just the beginning. In my coaching practice, Coach with Drew, we go deeper into how these values inform not just your holidays, leadership style, your career trajectory, and your impact on the world. And the decision to focus on micro shift, as I mentioned before, that's something like just driving your own car, rather than macro changes such as not going home for the holidays. That's very strategic. Fogg's behavioral model suggests that motivation waves when you suddenly feel very, very empowered, very excited to do something. Those are actually very unreliable, and sustainable change is going to come from just lowering barriers to action. Want to remove obstacles, not start brand new initiatives. How do you create a micro shift? Well, what we're looking for is a way to translate or extract some of those value-driven statements into action. So on the worksheet, I've said specifically clarity. You can see from my own statement that I said I am going to be clear, even if people don't always like that I'm being clear. What's that going to look like over the next month for me? Well, one thing I said is I'm going to start each day by naming my top priority aloud. This is how I'm going to act in a way that's going to bring me closer to that value statement, and that's going to help me to make choices day by day that might otherwise bring me a lot of stress, but hopefully are going to reduce that for me during this stressful time. Autonomy. I'm going to decline one recurring obligation over the next couple of weeks that's not serving me. Something that I say yes to and typically do and typically will and might say yes to again after the holidays. I'm going to turn it down now. for the sake of my quality of life. Or inclusion. It's not a luxury to check in with someone you love. So I'm going to schedule one meaningful check-in with someone that I have accidentally distanced myself. Okay, that's consistent with the value statement. It's consistent with the values, and hopefully it's consistent with what's brought you joy, what has brought you fulfillment, and what has brought you pride over the last year. And if you're like most of my clients and students, it is. And what do you do from here? Simply identifying your values can be an absolutely transformative effort. And research shows that people who live in a way that feels like it is value-driven tend to be more fulfilled all the way through to the end of their life. It also reduces stress, and it really can act as a guiding compass for your life. But there needs to be more than that. And one step that I think you can take now is scheduling regular check-ins with yourself to see, are you actually doing it? Because what you don't measure tends not to get done. If you're not great at doing that on your own, working with a coach can actually help, and I encourage you to visit my site at coachwithdrew.today. Reach out to me directly to find out how you can engage with a coach online or in your area who can be there as an assistant, be there as a guide, as a co-leader and a collaborator with you to ensure that you can build the business that you want, the professional presentation skills and personality, or the private life, the life with your couple, with your family, with your organization, that it is that I absolutely believe that living a value-driven life is one way to get to that stage. I'll look forward to speaking with those of you who are going to stick around for a Q&A to answer questions not only about coaching, but about stress, about self-presentation, and living in the most authentic and the most joyful way that you possibly can. And thank you again for spending time with me over the last 30 minutes during this session. I'm Dr. Drew Mallory, coach with Drew today at Sassen School of Management and other places online and in the world. I'd love to meet you face-to-face or to schedule time with you online to talk more about your goals and what we can do to bring you closer. Have a wonderful holiday. Have a great new year. And thank you for spending the time with me. Bye.
We really hope that you enjoyed that insightful session. I am certain Dr. Drew will be around for answering more questions in case you have a few. There is no golden rule here, so maybe a few techniques or guidelines might not help you, but can be the good start for finding out what works for you. So with that, we hope you continue enjoying the conference.